some help with the homily. Can any of you stand on one foot? I want you to come up and join me doing that. Can you do that? Knows how to do it. Yeah, come on up. Come on. Whoever. Teenagers, elders, doesn't matter. Come on up. We need a bunch. Come on up. Come on. You can stand on one foot. Come on up here. See you do it. Don't do it yet. Don't do it yet. Come on up. Who else can stand on one foot? Just spread out, you guys. Everyone spread out. Hey, come on. Your face will spread out. You're going to see your talent. Okay, ready for this? Let's try. Okay, come on up. Yeah, come on up. It's not a talent. Okay, well, sure. Come on. Yep, there we go. Ready? Oh, got another one. There we got another brave adult here. I love it. That's good. He's signing himself. That's good. All right, ready? Let's try. Everybody stand on one foot. How are you doing? Woo! All right. You know, this is actually pretty good exercise for balance. It also strengthens your ankles. Those of you who strain an ankle easily or sprain an ankle, this is really good. Okay, let's try the other foot, everybody. Try the other foot. How are you doing that foot? Nice. You guys are really good. You're on balance. Oops, you fell. Yeah, let's see you do it again. There you go. He's good. All right. There you go. All right. Let's give them all a hand. Okay. Sometimes you get pushed, huh? Yeah. Well, you know, I think all of us at times in our lives feel like we're off balance. That we really got to struggle to be in balance. You know, because of stuff going on. You know, because of relationships, or you got this person in your life. Maybe there's some family dynamics that just are not working out. Maybe you've heard some gossip. You're not really sure what to do with it. Remember, I always say, when you hear something, you got to ask yourself, is it true? Is it loving? Is it necessary? But certainly a lot of us just feel off balance when we think of things going on in the world, problems going on everywhere. The opposite is also true. Sometimes we feel like we are stuck, like we're not moving anywhere. Both are not very fun. In the first reading, we hear about Jeremiah, who is stuck in the mud. He was thrown down to a cistern. It's like a well. It's supposed to hold water. And he's in the mud. The intention was to kill him, that he would not survive. The reason they threw him down, as I said before, is that Jerusalem was surrounded by the enemy, armies of King Nebuchadnezzar. They wanted to overtake Jerusalem. And the advisors to the king of Jerusalem says, we got to fight this out. We got to protect ourselves. Knowing that everybody would be slaughtered, that all were going to die, even innocent people. But we got to do it anyway. Jeremiah, he says, no. That's not the way we got to do it. Let us surrender. Let's offer terms of peace. So the advisors to the king of Jerusalem didn't like what he said, so they threw him down the cistern, stuck in the mud. Well, then a foreigner comes along, Ebed-Melech, and he says, no, king, you got to listen to the prophet here. Things got some words. So they rescue him from the mud. They come up. Indeed, they do surrender. Jerusalem gets taken, all the people, and they go over to Babylon, and there's more to the story. The point of the story, though, is that Jeremiah speaks out. He knows what is true and what is right, and he's not afraid to say it, even though it's not popular. So many times when we don't speak out, you know, like in your work situation, there's that thing going on, and you just remain quiet. Or there's that dynamics in your family about this thing, and no one says anything, no one confronts. We just let it go. Or you think of stuff going on in politics, where things go against our Christian values. And many times we don't speak out. We don't speak up. We just say, well, would you have the nerve to do what Jeremiah did? Even if it meant it's not popular, even if it meant that it's going to cause some family discord. Because Jesus ups the ante a bit, because he says, Jesus have come to set the world on fire. A way to think of it is that sometimes things have to be leveled with fire for new growth to happen. Like, you know that that plot of land in front of the Zimmerman Rectory? Well, about every 3 years, we burn it. It's prairie grass, it's prairies. We burn everything, destroy everything, so that new growth can happen. Some of you farmers know the same thing. Sometimes you gotta set things on fire so they can start over and new growth happens. Well, that's what Jesus is talking about. Because he's saying sometimes you gotta do the tough stuff, even if people in your family aren't agreeing with you. Even if you're the only one who thinks that. So how do you know when you should speak out? The writer to the Hebrews, second reading, says we gotta focus on Jesus. We've got to be clear running the race of what he is all about. And oftentimes when we think of Jesus, we think of, he came to show us about God. But Jesus also came to show us how to be human. How we're supposed to act, speak. So I want you to think of that thing you might be struggling with. Maybe it's something with your team, this coaching thing going on. Maybe it's something with the place where you shop and you're not really sure if that's right. Maybe it's a family dynamic. Or something going on at school or work. What I say to you is, try to think of what would Jesus say. Remember some years ago there was this wristband, it was real popular. It had the initials WWJD. Remember that? It stood for What Would Jesus Do? Remember that? Well, I don't think it's real helpful because a lot of times when we say, what would Jesus do? Well, he'd probably walk on water. Or he'd probably do some kind of miracle. Okay. But prior to that, what would Jesus say? When you think of your issue or your thing going on that's causing you all this conflict, think how would Jesus respond? Because you got to remember, again and again, Jesus throughout the gospel, he has some messages. He says over and over again that we have to love. And it doesn't mean just love this one group of people or this one person, but Jesus keeps saying, no, we got to love all. Even the people we think don't agree with us, or the enemies, or the neighbor. Jesus talks about compassion. And that means it's like you think of what that other person is going through, as opposed to always assume they are evil, they're out to get you. Start thinking of like what's going on in their life. Have more compassion with where they might come from. And then Jesus again and again tells us not to be afraid. Fear not. As the writer of Hebrews said, trust that God is with you. You're not going to do this alone. God is with you. So I suggest when you're thinking of what to do, how do you respond? Should I say anything? Because many times we do the Minnesota nice thing, I'm just going to say nothing. It's not my business. You to think, if Jesus were in your place, what would he say? What would he respond? Because perhaps that's going to motivate you to speak out. Too many times we have that sense of like, well, I'm not feeling right, I feel off balance, I'm not sure what to do, but I'm not going to say anything. The readings today are saying sometimes you just gotta put your foot down. Find yourself planted and grounded in the gospel. Because if you don't stand for something, you're going to fall for anything. So this time I